January 6th committee says it is almost ready to connect the dots in public hearings. 8 hearings, beginning in June. A few planned for prime time. It is an enormous challenge. Just think about what we just discussed with Jamie Gangel was here, the Mark Meadows text messages with Sean Hannity, or the broader CNN reporting in the past week on more than 2,300 text exchanges with the former Trump chief of staff about trying to overturn the election results. Compelling, informative, yet just small, tiny pieces actually of what the committee says is a detailed conspiracy going from Election Day through the January 6th attacks to Biden Inauguration Day and, many committee members say, beyond, including this day. With me to share the reporting and their insights, CNN's Melanie Zanona, Jeff Mason of Reuters, and Tia Mitchell of the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. So we've been waiting for months to figure out when will they come public. They promised these hearings. We thought initially they would be before this, but here they come in June. Jamie Raskin, a key member of the committee, characterized it this way.
We now have the evidence to support a story of the worst presidential political crime against the Union in American history. Nothing that any other president ever did comes close to what happened on that day, and it will be harrowing for the American people to watch this story unfold.
The congressman there is setting a very high expectations bar of what they think they can prove, and the minds they hope to change, which is a key point in these hearings.
Yeah, I mean, I think one way to think about these hearings, yes, there is an expectation that there's going to be bombshell revelations, but some of these bombshells have been hiding in plain sight, thanks to some of our reporting from our colleagues, thanks to some of the information that the committee has drifted out. Really, what the challenge is going to be for them is distilling all of that information. I mean, they have thousands of documents, hundreds of depositions that they're going through. How do they tell a compelling story? And I think the other challenge, as you alluded to, is do they change any hearts and minds? I also think 8 hearings is quite a lot of hearings. Yeah. You would think maybe distilling them into a few more, like people might lose interest after 8. But clearly, they feel like they have a lot of ground to cover.
And they've hired former federal prosecutors. They're viewing this as almost as like a trial.
For sure. And I think the key word that jumped out at me from Congressman Raskin was evidence. This is not just a story, although they want to tell a story and they want to piece together the narrative so that it is compelling and so that Americans follow it and understand what happened. But they also want to prove it. They want to show that, look, we've got concrete examples. We've got these text messages. We've had these interviews. And this shows what happened and this shows who was culpable.
And we know the committee has done meticulous work about interviewing mid-level staffers, some high-level staffers, people around Trump, people in the campaign, people in these organizations, people who were involved in financing the rally. The question is, can you put that together in a way, again, if you're left of center, you believe Donald Trump committed this horrible crime, and you'll be cheering this on. Can you convince the middle of America so that they start thinking about this in the context of a Trump comeback, in the context of election law changes, in the context of what's happening in these Secretary of State races around the country?
Yeah, I mean, it's clear they're going to try, and I think what they're going to be spending the next couple of months ahead of these June hearings is trying to put together, this coherent case, almost like they are prosecutors, and they're going to work on their opening statements and work on their videos and work on what evidence they share. But the concern is, are there people in America, voters, who their minds cannot be changed, and will those voters even be tuned in? We know that there may be networks that may wholly ignore these hearings or put them in a different light. And so the question is, how can it cut through the noise when we're so partisan right now in America?
And it's interesting that they're thinking about it in the terms of prime time versus regular hours. They're also planning a multimedia presentation. That shows that they're trying to make a splash and that, yes, they're trying to show evidence, but they're also recognizing that this is part of like a PR and messaging thing as well, right?
Right, their challenge is hard because, again, we've learned a lot. We've learned a ton. I mean, every day we learn something new about this. You would think at some point, okay, is there anything new to learn? Well, yes, we've learned a ton new. The question is, can you put it together in a compelling way? One of the issues, I just want to show you 3 Republican lawmakers. The committee has been trying. The question is, who are your highest profile witnesses? Who tells the story? Who says, maybe says, I was wrong, or something. Well, you have the future speaker, perhaps, Kevin McCarthy, the Republican leader. Scott Perry is a congressman from Pennsylvania, deeply involved in trying to help Trump steal the election in Pennsylvania. Jim Jordan, Trump ally, we know, talked to him on January 6th. Benny Thompson is the chairman. He says he still hopes that those and other members of Congress, will come in and voluntarily cooperate.
I think there are some members who need to explain some of the information that we found out during our investigation. As we go about our work, we have come up on significant information about a lot of people. These things, with respect to some of these members, need clearing up.
Is there any evidence that Leader McCarthy or Scott Perry or Jim Jordan are prepared to say, oh yeah, you're right, for the sake of history, I'm going to suddenly talk?
Right. Not only is it a slim chance that they will voluntarily testify, but what we learned, like, look what happened with Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene a couple of weeks ago. She was subpoenaed, she was forced to testify, and she still gave, in this case, a state administrative judge, she gave them nothing. And so what is there to show us or give us any indication that Republicans, even if they were required to testify, would really give the committee, give the Democrats anything that could be incriminating or put them in a negative light?
Not to mention the implications of just watching how Republicans responded to Leader McCarthy this week by giving him a standing ovation when he talked about those tapes that were released. In terms of the overall impact that this might have, at least on his party and President Trump's base, it doesn't matter if it's prime time. There are a lot of people on that side just don't care.
The changing minds bar is an incredibly hard one for the committee, but they have surprised us so far. We will continue to watch it. Our reporters will be back with us in just a minute. Vladimir Putin accepts an invitation to an annual global economic summit. The Biden administration says he does not belong because of his invasion of Ukraine. So what now? That's next.